Wow, it is 2024, and to the surprise of no one, Americans are just dumb. They still don't know what a vaccine is. Not something novel. This is something that's been around for our entire lives. Every human alive in this country today has known about vaccines since they were a child. It's not a new thing, right? And since the pandemic, which was 4 years ago, it started, with all the conversations about science and medicine and vaccines, Americans still don't know what a vaccine is. So, Joe Biden has COVID. He has mild symptoms of COVID. He got vaccinated. He got all these boosters, and he still got COVID anyway. I wonder why. This is something that's shocking to many people. This is a result of people like Jimmy Dore and people like Joe Rogan and all these online grifters who take advantage of others because people have genuine curiosity and there's questions. They don't understand certain things. Certain things are, certain questions, and they may have certain suspicions. And then you have these online parasites that will feed into the suspicions like, oh, I don't know if this thing actually works and it doesn't seem to work and the mainstream is saying this and that, right? They're doing it right now with the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. I can tell you right now, I'm not going to call any names, but there's some people that you guys listening right now that you respect and you trust and you think they're doing a decent job, but I can see they're dancing a little bit on the edge of kind of the just asking questions type of thing where they, I don't know, this looks a little strange here, and they just don't seem genuine to me. But let's focus on the topic at hand. So since Americans still don't know what vaccines are, even my family member who is a nurse, I have a nurse, family member, who I had to have a debate about what vaccines are and what they're supposed to do. I'm going to be the one who is going to inform America what vaccines are because apparently we still don't know what it is. A vaccine is designed to help you to fight off infection, right? You have an immune system. That is what your immune system does. A vaccine is something that is along those lines in terms of it is a defense, right? It doesn't give you this like shield where you can't get infected and anything that tries to attack you, they just can't get in because you're in this, impenetrable shield. That's not what it does, right? You can get vaccinated all you want. You can get all the boosters you want. That is not going to stop pathogens from being introduced into your body and therefore having you potentially get infected, right? It is to help you to fight, right? Fight. Right? That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help you to fight. It doesn't make you invincible. Best case scenario, it does such a great job that the minute you get exposed to the pathogen, it starts attacking it right away. So before you even notice any symptoms, so you already have this pathogen within your body and it's already starting to do its thing, right? But before it gets any, progress, the vaccine allows your body to fight it off, such that you may not know you were even affected in the first place because you have no symptoms. Or you may have very mild symptoms to where it's extremely mild symptoms. Let's say, for example, one day you get up and you have a headache and you just think maybe you didn't get enough sleep or you're not drinking enough water, right? Or you feel a little tired, right? So those are actual symptoms, right? But they're not enough for you to be concerned. And you just kind of like, I'll be fine. And then it kind of goes away. So therefore, you're not even aware that you even got, this exposure at all. You don't even know that the vaccine even did its thing, right? You're not even aware that this process happened. Your body is in there fighting this thing off and you're not even aware of it, right? That is sort of the best case scenario. Now, going down from that, another scenario is where even though the vaccine does a great job of fighting it off, it doesn't do enough of a good job that you're not aware of the symptoms. So now this is where you have, the normal mild symptoms where maybe you have a cold, you might have a slight cough, and whatever the other symptoms are. So you have all those symptoms, but you're fine. You can do your daily duties or whatever it is. It's not affecting your life, but the symptoms are very prominent and you're definitely thinking, I have something, right? But then that could be the worst of it. That's what a vaccine does, right? So the difference of having that vaccine in that scenario versus not having it is instead of just mild symptoms that goes away pretty quickly, you could have had very severe symptoms, especially somebody really old like Joe Biden, for example. So if the vaccine is doing what it's supposed to be doing, then Joe Biden having mild symptoms would be a success, right? Because the alternative is if he didn't have the vaccine, him being in the hospital right now, right? A vaccine helps you fight, right? How much it helps you fight, how relevant it is based on your age and health, right? There's other conditions as well. So for example, if Joe Biden was a healthy 15-year-old, then, it might not be that relevant. Meaning, vaccinated versus not vaccinated, he might have a similar response. so he might not be getting a benefit from the vaccine because his body's immune system alone might be able to put up a good enough fight that he doesn't really get sick, right? That's for somebody very young. But somebody very old who's at high risk, that is where you're going to see more of the results or benefits of it, perhaps, right? But the problem with it is there's no way to go back in time. So someone that gets infected with COVID and is vaccinated, there will never be a way to know what would have happened if they didn't get vaccinated, right? Somebody that gets sick who wasn't vaccinated, there's no way to go back in time and know what would have happened if they were vaccinated, right? But the bottom line is, anyone in 2024 who is laughing and saying he got all these boosters and he got the vaccine and he still got COVID, I don't even know what to say. I mean, you're absolutely clueless. I mean, it is 2024, and again, you don't even know. Like, forget about COVID, right? This is just how vaccines work, right? Let me dispel something that's been confusing people and confuse my family member who's a nurse. So people talk about other vaccines that they believe makes you invincible because we get these vaccines and you don't see people getting sick. But again, it's not that you're not getting exposed to the pathogen. It's not that, it's not doing any damage. Best case scenario, it is able to fight things off to a point where you might not notice, right? Or maybe you get mild symptoms, right? But generally speaking, you don't get knocked down and you don't get, really like sick, like, oh, what's wrong with you type of thing. But here's a key distinction to understand. The reason why a lot of vaccines that we know about from the past for other diseases have been so effective and given us the illusion that what a vaccine does is make you not get sick at all is because if you have something that is very stable, right? So therefore, you can design this vaccine to this very sort of specific thing, right? So you know exactly what it is and you can target it very effectively and very consistently. That is what you see with things like measles, right? You can create a vaccine for that and it can be very effective because it's a pretty standardized thing, right? But there's different types of viruses, right? And you have viruses that mutate a lot, right? And have a lot of variations. This is a big challenge and Achilles heel of any vaccine because vaccines are not magic, right? It's science. The science has certain expectations of the thing that you're supposed to be fighting. If those expectations deviate a lot, the vaccine is going to have a lot of problems. Case in point, COVID-19. We've seen so many different strands of it, right? Omega and beta, alpha, whatever, right? This thing changes so much. I'm going to give you another analogy to help you understand how vaccines work. So in the context of Superman, the vaccine would be Lex Luthor. COVID-19 would be Superman, right? So you have a villain who is being attacked by Superman. Superman, let's say a team of villains. Superman's attacking them and taking them out, right? And to protect them from this, they take the vaccine or Lex Luthor. They consult with Lex Luthor. What this vaccine does is give them information that they need to fight off the virus, which is Superman, right? Lex Luthor, as a vaccine, gives them the details, the instructions. Instructions are kryptonite, right? Kryptonite. That is what you need to defend yourself against Superman. Now, just because they've taken the Lex Luthor doesn't mean that Superman can't do anything to them, right? Superman is still very powerful, right? But with using this instructions that they got from their Lex Luthor, they are able to potentially fight him off and potentially even kill him. However, to make it a little bit more accurate, because that's actually an analogy of if Superman was measles. People from the planet Krypton have this consistent weakness of kryptonite, right? So you can consistently use kryptonite, the same grade of kryptonite, and it's going to have the same effect of all these Kryptonians in weakening them and allowing them to be killed. In contrast, COVID-19 would be like one of those villains that actually absorbs the powers of other people and therefore potential weaknesses as well. So you go and you see that they've recently absorbed the power of a certain superhero and you try to attack them using the Achilles heel of that particular hero that they've taken the powers of. But because they keep morphing and changing and taking on different people's powers, the effectiveness of the strategy can vary, right? If they had just taken on these powers and you use the weakness of the hero that they took the powers from, then it'll be very effective, right? You can shut them down right away. However, if they're in the process of transitioning into absorbing somebody else's powers, with a new weakness, and you're targeting an old weakness, right? That's no longer a thing anymore, right? They absorb Superman's powers. Now they're absorbing, I don't know, some other superhero's powers, right? And you try to use kryptonite on them, it's not going to work, right? COVID-19, unlike measles, is very unstable. I think there were 5 major variants of concern. While there are only 5 major variants of concern, or COVID variants, and we do have vaccines that are supposed to be effective against all 5 of them, there are still additional mutations and antigen drift, which can affect the effectiveness of the vaccine. So with measles, pretty stable, right? So we can understand it just like kryptonite and Kryptonians, right? We understand measles. We create a vaccine that, has the instructions to destroy measles, and you can have millions of people get measles. And although measles is not 100% a clone, I mean, there are some variations. There are no major variations. And in the context of how that vaccine works in terms of what it targets, the thing that it targets is pretty consistent. With COVID-19, what's targeted changes a lot depending on the variant. Therefore, your results may vary. So the idea to expect a vaccine to operate on something that changes so much as well as it does for something that is pretty consistent is absolute lunacy, or demonstrates that you don't even have fundamental understanding of what you're even talking about. Imagine police have been wearing bulletproof vests for a very long time and it's been very effective. Typically, bad guys use 9mm guns, and in this scenario, because of that, the type of vest that the police are using, very, very effective. You almost never hear any stories about any kind of bullets penetrating the armor. Very, very effective. Then all of a sudden, the bad guys start upgrading to really, really heavy artillery. They're using machine guns, shotguns, they're using sniper rifles. So the police have to upgrade their vests to much more powerful vests. But even though they've done that, because the weaponry has gotten so aggressive, even with the upgraded vests, it's not enough. It helps for sure. It saved a lot of police officers' lives for sure. But we start hearing about officers being killed who were wearing vests. Now imagine a bunch of people saying, these are not bulletproof vests, right? Look at all these officers dying. These are not bulletproof vests. And they refer back to, look at how real bulletproof vests work. They were effective and no one died. Or imagine you have a very effective rat poison that's been used for a very long time, very, very effective. And then you have these new breed of rats that are very resilient to it. They certainly die. The poison still kills them, but it's not nearly as effective. Now imagine a bunch of people saying that's not actually rat poison. Rat poison kills rats. This doesn't kill rats. It's fake. Again, what is a vaccine? What does it do? Let me give you an analogy. The way people are talking right now is like, so let's look at the Donald Trump assassination attempt, right? Let's say Donald Trump was wearing a bulletproof vest, right? He was wearing a bulletproof vest, and this guy was successful with his headshot, and he took out Donald Trump, right? Now, the people who are laughing at Joe Biden that he got infected, they would be the same people laughing and saying, bulletproof vests don't work. We've been telling you that these things don't work. Think about it. Look at your neck and your head. It's all exposed, your arms, right? Do you know in your arm there's an artery, right? You hit that can cause severe damage. It's ridiculous to think you can just put on a vest and all of a sudden, like, you can't, like, look at all this part is exposed. Your legs are exposed, right? Well, if you fall down, someone can shoot you in the ass, right up, inside of you, right through the vest. It's stupid. They can shoot you right through the armpits, right? Vests don't work. We've been saying that for a long time. That is like these conversations about people who are talking about vaccines, right? Acting as if vaccines are supposed to be perfect, acting like masks are supposed to be perfect. How does a mask work? And you can smell farts and da-da-da-da, right? They have this straw man that the thing is perfect. Masks are perfect. Vaccines are perfect. So then anytime you see an imperfection, you're like, see, it's actually not perfect. The thing doesn't work, right? Bulletproof vests don't work, right? There's even another analogy where, so you can use a bulletproof vest against, just to keep it simple, let's say someone who's using a 22, right? And they're not doing headshots. They're hitting you in the torso, right? Now, just because you're wearing a bulletproof vest, and because the bulletproof vest is effective against what they're firing at you at, doesn't make you invincible, right? If somebody shoots you in the chest with a 22, I don't care if you're wearing a vest, you still got shot in the chest with a 22. You're probably going to bruise. It's probably going to sting, right? So you're going to suffer some kind of damage because a bulletproof vest doesn't make you invincible. And if they're using, something that's high enough caliber, then you can pierce right through that vest, right? Bulletproof vest does not make you invincible, right? It helps you to fight off dying from a bullet. but it depends on the type of the bullet, and it depends on where the bullet is aimed, right? A vaccine helps you to fight off, in this case, COVID-19, right, from getting an infection, right? But it depends on the specific strand that affects you versus which specific vaccine you took, right? They made modifications, I believe, over time, adjusting based on the new strands coming out, right? But how effective it is based on your health, based on the particular strand that you get affected by, based on the particular vaccine that you took and what it's designed to attack in terms of which variation of this thing, right? Another factor that many people don't consider is duration. The duration of exposure is very relevant. So for example, if Joe Biden sat for a 5-minute meeting in a small office with someone who's infected, and that's how he got infected, that's a big difference from him being in a 3-hour meeting where someone in the room is infected, has been coughing a lot, right? There's much more duration in the second scenario, and therefore how it affects Joe Biden would be significantly different. This is just a result of this greedy environment that we have, where there's so much money to be made. You know, there's people out there that are wondering about things and they don't understand, like, why is this happening? And they have certain suspicions. And while there is money for some people to actually explain the truth, I think there's far more money to be contrarian, to say, oh, they're trying to hide this from you, and this is on the mainstream, they're lying to you, right? Has much more power than some nerdy scientific video that's just telling you the truth. It's much more sexy to give information, secret information, that we're part of the group. You know, everybody else is clueless, but we're the ones that we know. We know that vaccine thing doesn't work. How can you know whether it works or not if you don't even know what it's supposed to do? If you don't know what the word vaccine means, whether you're a nurse or a layman, then how can you critique what the vaccine does? First, educate yourself on what vaccines are, how they work, right? Then you're qualified to have any opinion at all whatsoever about whether it works or not. You got to know the thing before you can critique the thing, right? And to be more detailed and specific dealing with the COVID vaccine, essentially, and in a very simplistic way of explaining it, the vaccine gives your body the fingerprint of the virus, right? So the minute that this virus tries to enter your body, right? It's like your body has a security check, right? And they check your fingerprint. And they'll recognize the vaccine record that says this is a bad guy. And part of that record is this is what to do to fight this thing off, right? So the minute that you get to the security point, there's going to be an immediate response. We've got to take this guy out. This is a bad guy. Threat, right? But just because you identified it and because you have a plan to take it out doesn't make it just vanish, right? You still have to win the war. And ideally, in best case scenarios, the war is won. But it's got to be a war. So the thing is inside you, trying to damage your cells or trying to do whatever damage inside, and your immune system boosted by this vaccine is sitting there, taking it out, pop, 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 taking hits, giving hits, right? And ultimately, hopefully, in the end, when all the dust settles, you're good. This is Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. It's really frustrating. It's so frustrating, man. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Social media will destroy this country. It is the incentive to just lie and manipulate people, anything for views. This culture will destroy the United States of America. I'm sure of it.